Hey guys, welcome back. So for this one, we're diving into Peter David's Symbiote Spider-Man 2099 series, which is completely separate from our other Spider-Man 2099 coverage, where we're talking about what's going on with Miguel O'Hara now. Because for this one, Peter David's taking us back to Earth 928 to give us a new spin on his existing story, much like he did with the Maestro series, Joe Fixit, as well as the other recent Symbiote Spider-Man stories. All of which I have links to in the description, just below the like button. And while you're there, you're more than welcome to subscribe if you're new to the channel, and don't forget to hit that bell up top to get all notifications so we can squad up in the comments for the first hour. Alright, so for this one, we're going back to Earth 928, and we're picking up from around the time of Spider-Man 2099 issues 42 through 44, where at this point, Miguel O'Hara had recently become CEO at Alchemax, which is also where the Venom symbiote's being held at this point, because at the time that we're jumping in, a lot of the chaos with Venom 2099 had just wrapped up with Kron Stone, Miguel's older half-brother, who was bonded to the Venom symbiote at the time, also eventually being taken in and held by Alchemax, which is how at this point, the Venom symbiote made its way into Alchemax containment. But later on in issues 43 and 44, we were introduced to Roman, the Submariner, who at one point was an employee of Alchemax, who participated in the New Atlantis project that was led by the former CEO of Alchemax, Tyler Stone. And this New Atlantis project was supposed to be a new bold direction for undersea exploration, which included genetically designed undersea mutates, who eventually rebelled under Roman's leadership. So of course, with Miguel recently becoming CEO, he inherited this problem as well. But long story short, when Roman was defeated, he was also taken into Alchemax, where shortly after he broke out, and we discovered not long after that, he was being held in Lab 27, right next to the Venom symbiote. But of course, in all the commotion, the symbiote got out and Roman bonded with it, which is now where the news story picks up. And I think it's a really clever way to go about this, since the next couple of issues in the original series took a pivot, focusing more on the Green Goblin and Vulture. So yeah, it always felt like there was a bit of a small gap where a few more story bits could have fit in right after that Atlantis invasion. So it feels good that we're getting that now. But nonetheless, with Symbiote Roman on the loose, this guy is a menace. He's knocked a bunch of teens out of their car, only to take that car and drive it into the public eye officers pursuing him. But it isn't too long before his chaotic rampage is eventually ended, because when Miguel O'Hara's Spider-Man shows up, he shuts this whole thing down rather quickly. But just before he does, he tries to reason with Roman, because all of this that we're seeing him do now with the symbiote, these aren't things that Roman the Submariner would have done, because he's way more calculated, and in a lot of ways he models himself after the original Submariner, Namor. Though I'm not sure if that's how he got the name Roman, and I mean creatively, of course, but narratively, I don't remember. I think it was just a coincidence. You guys know how these comic book names work. But this whole time that Miguel was talking to Roman, he was just trying to keep him on the bike long enough, because they have a built-in security measure so that whenever a rider bails, a countdown begins for the cycle to blow up. So Miguel makes sure to tell Roman just seconds before it detonates, sending Roman back down to the ground, to where from there he decides to regroup and head back down to Atlantis to continue their invasion on the surface world. But even now, though this seems like a decision that Roman would make on his own, he quickly finds out that the symbiote is being a bit more intrusive than what he would like, with the symbiote speaking for him, saying things like, "We cannot wait. Already they're draining their city of the flood we created," which of course has his followers like, "What you mean we?" And in a way, it kind of gives off the vibes of the symbiote just getting here and taking some of the credit. So Roman forces the Venom symbiote off of his body, discarding the symbiote in the water, to where next it makes its way for the city. Meanwhile, when we head back over to Alchemax, we find Miguel being filled in on the current status of a few things, like the Venom symbiote getting away, which he's not too worried about since he stopped it before. But right after that, he's told that there's more symbiotes that he's gonna have to deal with, since Dr. Hibby's working on a super soldier program with the recent offsprings of the Venom symbiote. So for a moment here, Miguel acts like he knows what's going on, and he's like, "Yeah, we got that under control, just like Kron Stone. So you know, as long as we keep him separate from the symbiote." And then his mom walks in telling him that Kron Stone has escaped. And I also want to add on here that Miguel's mom became his secretary not too long after he became CEO, and their relationship, which was a bit rocky before, started to get better in issue 44, I think it was, when she found out he was Spider-Man, who she also admired, but also it explained a lot about Miguel's strange behavior at the time. But after getting these updates, Miguel schedules to have a meeting with Dr. Hibby so he can learn more about this secret soldier program that he clearly already knew about. But before that, we next head over to Kron Stone, who's currently making his way back to his apartment. And I mean, this guy, he is in bad shape. And it's funny because this little girl sees him and she's like, "Mommy, what's wrong with that man's face?" So Kron is like, "I was in a fight." And the little girl's like, "Did you win?" And it's so adorable because the little girl just doesn't know that people who win fights usually don't look like that. And I want to put a heavy emphasis on the word usually, because I know somebody gonna be in the comments like, "Man, I was looking like that the other day and I won the fight." And to that person, the last thing your hands need to be doing is typing in the comments section. Like, come on, man. But to put things a bit more into perspective, back in Spider-Man 2099, issue 39, Kron was just going off inside of his containment unit, talking about how he was gonna put hands on Miguel and choke him out. So Miguel told everybody else to leave the room, to where after he pushed the button to let Kron out, and he made a deal with his big brother, saying if he could take him without the Venom symbiote, then he's a free man. Which, come on man, that's dirty, because Kron has no idea that Miguel is Spider-Man. But at the same time, with how this is going down, it's also Miguel getting payback for all the lives that Kron had taken when he was Venom, especially in the case of Dana D'Angelo, who at one point in time was Miguel's love interest, who, I mean, she was actually with his younger brother Gabriel, and she cheated on Gabe with Miguel, and Miguel cheated on his girl Xena with her. So as you can see, this made her someone special. So at the time when Miguel beat the mess out of his older brother Kron, there was a lot of things going on with Miguel here. And it wasn't just the payback, but also it was Miguel letting out a lot of that stress that he'd taken on recently from becoming CEO. But nonetheless, challenging a regular man to a fight when you're Spider-Man, that's nasty work. And at one point when Kron was like, "Hey, I'll tell you anything you want to know," Miguel responded by saying, "I don't want you to talk, Kron. I want you to scream." Which right there is one of the reasons why I think Symbiote Spider-Man 2099 is about to be a problem. But going back to Kron, when this little girl asks him, did he win? He just tells her, "I always win." Which right there feels like a bit of foreshadowing. But after this, he goes back to his apartment, where he has trouble getting in, so he just kicks in the door and face plants on the couch. And after this, we then go back to Alchemax, with Dr. Hibby making his way to see Miguel. And as soon as he walks in, Miguel's like, "Tell me about the Super Soldier program." And Dr. Hibby plays dumb at first, because he's like, "Oh, the one that resulted in Captain America?" And Miguel's like, "No, the one using the symbiote. Care to tell me about it?" Which right there catches Dr. Hibby off guard, because he has no idea how Mr. O'Hara even knows about it. So Miguel demands that he just spills it. So right here, Dr. Hibby tells him the symbiote spawned. It was completely spontaneous, but in doing so, it mutated. Chemical readings shifted. I'm assuming it's because of its exposure to Kron and time on Earth, which right there has Miguel like, "So you experimented on it?" And Dr. Hibby's like, "It represents an opportunity for," and Miguel just cuts him off right there. He's like, "Complete disaster." So he tells Dr. Hibby to destroy it. And Miguel doesn't care how he does it. Flush it, whatever. Just get rid of it. So not long after, his mother and secretary, Conchata, she comes to his desk to let him know that Tyler Stone is on his way. So of course, initially, Miguel's thinking that Mr. Stone, the previous CEO, he's coming to take back Alchemax. So his mom suggests that perhaps Miguel should hand it over, because taking on this position, it's changed him a lot. Because now the slightest thing will make Miguel just go off, when before he used to be real laid back. So with hearing this, Miguel, he goes off. And he just goes on to tell her how he's trying to steer a company that could potentially end civilization with one experiment gone wrong. And he even goes on to tell her, "How about you say thank you, Ma, and then get the shock out of my office." And for those who don't know, shock was a cuss word back in these old 2099 comics, which just goes to show you that Miguel's wildin'. Cause come on man, you don't talk to your mama like that. And after she leaves, he brings up Lila, and he tells her to spy on Dr. Hibby, just so he can make sure that the doctor's doing what he said as far as killing the symbiote super soldier program. So Lila checks on Dr. Hibby, and come to find out he's laughing demonically while saying, "I'll show him, I'll show them all." Which right there is a clear sign as any that Dr. Hibby, he's not stopping. So right there, Miguel suits up as Spider-Man using his latest nanobot suit, because now he wants to see how Dr. Hibby reacts when Spider-Man tells him to destroy it. Which from here takes Miguel over to Dr. Hibby's lab, where of course Dr. Hibby is startled by Spider-Man just popping up. But when Spider-Man asks Dr. Hibby if he's done what Mr. O'Hara told him to do, Dr. Hibby is just like, "Oh, I was training these symbiotes, getting them to bend to my will using the artificial Esper program. Allow me to show you the results." To where next, Dr. Hibby pushes a button, letting the symbiotes out while saying, "Attack him, my children. He wants your destruction. Tear him apart. So the symbiote races towards Spider-Man, but at the last second it stops, and it says, "Interesting. You think you know me. Let me demonstrate how little you know." And right there, the symbiote just latches on to Miguel O'Hara, which, like I said before, Miguel O'Hara is already not the nicest person. So going forward, I can only imagine where this is gonna take it. But first, for a moment here, we go back over to Kron, who's finally got up off the couch, popped a couple painkillers. He's getting himself together in the bathroom mirror while trying to figure out how did he lose in a fight to Miguel O'Hara. But this isn't something that he's thinking about too much longer, because next, when he cuts on the shower, he hears someone in his apartment, and before he can even react, a hand just shoves his face into the mirror, and come to find out it's Jacob Gallows, good old Punisher 2099, who from here just starts laying into this guy. And just to add a little bit of context here as well, when Kron Stone was vice president at Alchemax, he killed Jacob's mother, his brother, and his sister-in-law, and this happened way before he got the Venom symbiote, which really just goes to show that he was never a good person. While Jacob, on the other hand, his family was very religious. They were Thorites, they worshiped Thor, so he admits to Kron while he's beating him down. The reason why he never got to know his brother's wife that well was because Jacob was afraid that he would fall in love with her, only for Kron to kill her and the others like they were nothing. But right in the middle of this, black goo starts to come down from the shower head. It quickly wraps around Kron's body, and boom, he's Venom again. So the Punisher, you know what I'm saying, he wasn't expecting to run up on all of this. Though he is well aware of what Venom is capable of, and he's not prepared for any of that right now. So he doubles back out the window onto his bike, only for Kron to follow him out there a lot faster than what he expected. And before the Punisher can react, Kron goes for the kill, which seems to be like the end for Punisher 2099 here. Though I wouldn't be surprised if we later got a cybernetic version that came back at some point in this story, because it wouldn't be a first. But just after this, the symbiote wonders if Punisher 2099 also has an explosive failsafe on his bike, like the public eye soldiers from earlier, only for him to find out seconds later that he does. But going back to Miguel O'Hara and Dr. Hibby, we see the doctor checking on Spider-Man to see if he's okay, and you know, he's like, "Spider-Man, Spider-Man, if you're here to kill me, clap your hands." Whoa, wait a minute. And right here, after bonding with the symbiote, he looks up and he tells the doctor, "Spider-Man isn't home right now. Will we do?" Which, yeah, you already know it's gonna get crazy, because old school Miguel was already a menace. So what's this gonna do? Turn him into a Menace Pro Max? Either way, I can't wait to see it. And so now real quick, I want to give a special shout out to all the patrons. Thank you guys for all of your support. And for anyone who's new here who wants more information on how to support the channel, I got a link below where you can go to patreon.com/DopeSpill. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and we'll do it again on the next one. Alright, later.